calculate the LV of the magnificent krill. A huge thanks to brUhV for sponsoring this video. Good morning, fellow mathematicians! Welcome back to another video. It's exam time yet again, and this time once again with one that I wouldn't consider to be hard, but it's something that you might be interested in. We are talking about the Mittlere Schulabschluss, the Realschulabschluss, the MSA here in Germany. It's from Saxony-Anhalt and it's this year's fresh piece. It's the final kind of exam that you would need to pass to get yourself the third highest school degree here in Germany. By the way, up until the end of the day, you are going to get 10% off everything at my Teespring shop, including this nice piece, this engineering clock, using the code SUMMER10. So check it out and support the channel this way. Like mentioned before, this right here is the mathematics part, the mathematics final exam to get yourself the Realschulabschluss, the third highest degree in Germany. And in the description you can find the original versions as well as the transcribed version that I transcribed for you into English. So I hope you appreciate it. You can download it for yourself and solve it. Also, I'm going to present this German exam in German language over on Flammable Maths 2 too, so you can take a look at that version. And also I'm going to solve through the whole thing in both German and English, so check that out. Over the course of the whole weekend you can find a lot of videos coming out over there on Flammable Maths 2. Now once again, here's the main structure of the video. At first we are going to talk about how many students participate in this very exam. Also, we are going to take a look at a few statistics here online on the Bildungsserver of Saxony-Anhalt, so like the website that manages each and everything that has to do with the education here in Saxony-Anhalt. And after that we are going to take a look at the exam and at the end a few last words. So I've gotten myself a few notes and I'm going to read a tiny little bit of those notes here. So on average we have, I don't even need those notes to be honest, on average 7,500 to 8,200 students are going to take this final exam in mathematics. Overall, they need to do a mathematics, a German and an English exam. And to get themselves the final degree, like the Realschulabschluss, they need to pass all three of them. And here's the German grade system. I'm going to present it to you. So the best grade you could possibly get is the grade 1. Then it goes on with 2, that's a good. Then the 3, that's still average. 4, okay, you barely pass. 5 is the danger zone. If you get a 5, then you can compensate this 5 either with a 3 or higher, at least on those exams. So if you get 1 5, you can still compensate for it with a 3 or better. But if you get 2 5s, for example English 5 and mathematics 5, you fail completely. And then there's the really dangerous grade number 6. And if you get a grade number 6, you are pretty much fricked, so there's no way out. If you get a 6, you failed the whole school year and need to retake everything next year again. Now we are going to take a look at a few statistics and then we are going to see how all of that actually worked out regarding the grades overall. So the Bildungsserver is the official entity to get your hands on the exams and all the results. I have to say that I received those exams from my school because I'm teaching there, and they are not officially out yet for 2020, but they are going to be out soon as well as the results. But just for clarification purposes and for a few results, we are going to take a look at the 2019 results in mathematics. You can find all the links down there in the description and you can take a look for yourself into all of the stuff you find here. So let us take a look at the region-wide results in mathematics. Everything's going to be in German here, but it's not a problem. I'm going to explain everything to you. So what we have here at first is the distribution of grades the individual students have over the course of the whole 10th grade where they have to take the exam. So this is the total grade they score in class, basically in the mathematics class. So 5.4% have grade number 1 as being their final grade for their maths class. Then 26% have grade number 2 and so on. 35% have grade number 3 and so on, 4, 5, 6. Meaning the average grade that Saxony-Anhalt has in 10th grade in the class mathematics is 3.01, which is right in the middle of the Gaussian bell curve. That's totally fine. Now what about the grades they score here in the Realschulabschluss Prüfung? What about those? Well, if we now take a look at the grade number 1, only 3.8% actually score the grade 1 here, meaning 2% of students who are actually in the margin of scoring grade number 1 fail here, kind of. They get a grade number 2 or worse. Now for the grade number 2, only 18% get grade 2, even though 26 to 27% basically have the capacities to score a 2 as the final grade. Then it continues, the trend continues here. Everyone kind of gets worse when it comes to taking this exam. I think there's pressure on them and all of this stuff, but just listen to that. So most people score worse than they could possibly do. 27% instead of 55% score grade number 3. And here comes the worst part. All the people that score worse obviously are in the latter half of the grade distribution here, and 33% score the grade 4. And then we have nearly 17%, or exactly 17% basically, who are in the range of they need a better grade like 3 or 2 in English or German to compensate for their miserable efforts here, or they just completely fail the whole thing. 2.5% fail the whole thing. And yeah, overall the average grade being scored here at the Realschulabschluss Prüfung in the class mathematics is 3.45. This is way worse. That's nearly a 4 as the final grade, basically overall average grade. This is way worse than what they actually scored over the course of the whole year. And then there are other things on the website, like how did they do in the individual mandatory exercises that they had to do, for example. But you can look into this if you're more interested in that. We are going to take a look at the exam now and yeah, see what the exercises actually look like. So the Realschulabschluss Prüfung is structured into 2 parts. For the first part you got 20 minutes, it's completely without tools, so no calculator allowed, no books allowed, no lecture notes allowed. For the next part, we are going to come to that later, you got 2 hours and 40 minutes of time, and there you had to solve a lot of exercises and you could choose between 1 out of 3 really mandatory exercises, compulsory mandatory exercises. We're going to come to those in a second, and for the second part you were allowed to use the calculator and the Tafelwerk, so there was some kind of book allowed. A lookup table was basically allowed. So let us take a look at the first exercises. Like I said, on Flammy Maths 2 I'm going to solve through all of those if you're interested. So the first part involved calculating stuff. So they had to know about a few things. How to multiply negative numbers together, how to add numbers together in general, how to add fractions together, how to deal with units, adding kilometers to meters for example, and how to divide decimal numbers in some way. Then they also need to know how to reduce fractions as much as possible. So basically they need to know about prime factorizations. Other than that, they need to know how to compare numbers, so order relations in the natural numbers, real numbers, etc. And they also need to know about percentage calculations. And I hope you noticed that they always need to know about units in a way, so you need to keep the unit of dollars, for example, euros it was for our exam. I kind of Americanized this exam a tiny little bit. Then they need to decide which of the order relations or equivalence relations really fits in here, so they really need to know about units and also relations overall. Then they need to know how to solve equations or how to solve for one variable in an equation. So they need to solve for A in the law of sines basically here. Not really hard, but for many students a really hard feat to do. So do not laugh, my boys and girls. And now, they need to know a tiny little bit about combinatorics and stochastics here, and this basically covers the first part without tools, but there are more exercises. I thought it was already covered. So now they need to know how to interpret diagrams in a way and how to interpret statistics. Also, they need to know how to deal with coordinate systems and How to set up points, so x and y coordinates, what comes first, x or y, whatsoever, how to get the notation right for points in general. And then they need to know what a linear function is, so dealing with linear functions and maybe also parabolas when it comes to higher mathematics here in a way, and also some geometry or trigonometry. Like mentioned before, 20 minutes for the part without tools and now for the tool-assisted part. Here they had at first mandatory exercises, meaning those were exercises they had to do. They need to get a point on this one. So at first, a train is driving an average of 160 kilometers per hour. Calculate the time it takes for the train to travel 400 kilometers. It's a linear thing, so they need to know about the so-called Dreisatz here in Germany, so linear functions, proportionality in a way. They're kind of mixed, those exercises, so do not look for a certain structure here in those first mandatory exercises, alright? Now the following picture shows a wheel of fortune partitioned into 5 equally sized regions. The wheel will be spun 2 times and then the sum of the 2 drawn numbers will be calculated. Calculate the probability of the numbers adding up to 18. Pretty easy exercise, but probability exercise is not too easy for most students. Photos can be printed in the formats 9 to 13, blah blah blah. Which of the following formats are similar? Explain your decision. Explain in our context means they really had to write out sentences, not just little note points or something. So they really had to write out sentences and they had to argue with fractions, for example. Which fractions could be shortened, for example, reduced, such that they are similar in a way. Now the following picture shows a prism with an equilateral triangle as its base. The height of the prism is 6 centimeters and one of the triangle's sides has a length of 3 centimeters. Calculate the prism's surface area. Pretty self-explanatory. They were able to use the lecture, not the lecture notes, but the lookup table basically, so this is kind of easy to calculate. Let y be a parabola. What are the coordinates of the vertex? Draw the graph of f into a coordinate system on the interval of at least -2 and 4, so x is bounded between those. So they needed to know how to set up the coordinate system in a way, what the x-axis is and what the y-axis basically is. And then they also needed to draw this kind of nicely. What value for the angle gamma satisfies a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of gamma is equal to a squared plus b squared? Obviously, this right here is just Papa Pythagoras, so the special case of the law of cosines that we are having here. And they need to know that the Papa Pythagoras holds in right triangles, so gamma needs to be basically 90 degrees. So that's the trick here. Now next up, the following picture shows a pentagon ABCDE with blah blah blah. Construct the pentagon ABCDE. So they also, a big part of German geometry lessons here is actually constructing with straight edge and compass basically. So this is something that they really need to know a lot about. So this is also a matter of construction here for the pentagon, and then calculate the value of the angle by there. So yeah, they also needed to calculate the angle, and if you have constructed it for yourself, you don't even really need to calculate it. You can just use your geometry triangle, geodreieck, I don't know what it's called in English, and then you can basically just take a look at what the angle really measures. Check for the truth of the following statement. The area of the triangle ABE is half of a rectangle BCDE's area. Then you need to argue about areas. You can calculate those, or you can just argue in a way that would make sense. The following table shows the sugar beet profits in tons per hectare of 10 farmers. Plot the profits of the farmers 1, 2 and 3 into a bar chart. What does the value of cell B4 represent in the context of the exercise? There they really need to know about Excel also. Most of them probably didn't even know that this right here is just an arithmetic meme. The arithmetic meme. But if you take a closer look at the cell, it's basically selected right now, and it says up here that it's just the sum of all the other cells up here, and then divided by the number of farmers that we have, 10, so that's just the arithmetic mean. So yeah, this is something that you also need to know about. On average, a sugar beet has a mass of 920 grams and and contains 90% of sugar. How many sugar beets are at least needed to produce 1 kilogram of sugar? That's a really hard exercise for students. I know that because it involves percentages, and I don't know for frick's sake why it's so hard for students to deal with percentages. They are just sophisticated fractions basically in a way. So next up, we are now at the compulsory choice exercises. Those are the ones where you have 3 and you can pick one of those. You have to pick one of those, and once you have decided, you can't go back. So if you put a cross here, basically you need to do exercise number 1. So let's go for the first one. So we have some kind of tower here given with a little explanation that it's kind of a hollow cylinder basically, and the so-called enclosed space is an old metric for the volume that a building takes up. Showed that the enclosed space of this Bismarck Turm, it's a type of tower, is approximately 3393 cubic meters. It's just a matter of calculating stuff. You find this in your lookup table, so you basically just need to plug in numbers into a finished formula. Calculate the thickness of the brickwork. Oh, it's so thick. This is also really easy considering you have your lookup table around. A model of the tower will be built up to a certain scale. The outer diameter will be 6 centimeters. Calculate the height of the model and the scale. Once again, you need to deal with fractions in a way if you want to find out the scales nicely. So this is kind of a hard exercise for many students to do. Then we have the compulsory choice exercise number 2. This is anal, basically analysis, and you have a function given and a certain graph inside of a coordinate system. And the exercises are that you need to use the picture to find out f of 4 and verify your guess with proper calculations. Easy. Just basically take a look at the graph and after that put 4 into each and every x and see what you get out. A stack of equally sized boxes can be found in a shop. Each new row on top of another contains 1 box less than the row below. See picture below. Okay, kind of easy. Kind of like Pascal's triangle basically. Recently covered it on this channel. To express the number of stacked boxes with respect to the number of rows, we use the function f from above. Oh, that's spicy. Check the following statement. 6 rows contain exactly 22 boxes. I mean, you can take a piece of paper and just draw out more rows and then count basically. Or you can plug the number 6 into our function f and see what you get out on the other side and verify it this way. Using the picture above, calculate the number of rows needed to stack 120 boxes. You can use the picture, or you can set our function that we had here, our quadratic, equal to 120, and just see what you get out using the quadratic formula basically. In the context of the exercise, explain the meaning of x and y as well as the change of domain of f. Kind of self-explanatory, so not much to really discuss here. So you need to know about functions and what the domain and codomain and all of this is. There are 2 ways to calculate, this is compulsory topic number 3. There are 2 ways to calculate the energy demand of an individual. We have something with the PEL value, you're my greatest pal here, my boy, laugh here. And then the sum of the BMR, GV and the active metabolic rate, LV. The BMR, blah, blah, and then we have some text here, can be modeled using this equation. And calculate the GU of a 25-year-old female individual, not a woman, it's a female individual, with a height of 165 centimeters and a mass of 58 kilograms using the picture above. And with picture, they mean that you need to make use of this formula right here. Explain under the assumption that the given formula for GU holds how the age of a female individual affects the BMR. And yeah, then you can just argue basically, since we have the age somewhere here, T is the age, the higher the age, the lower our formula gets, so since we are subtracting, we are going to get smaller value out on the other side. So this is something you need to take into account. Grows pretty. A female student with a PEL value of 1.5 has an energy demand of 2172 kilocalories. Calculate the LV of the magnificent krill. Interpret the term GU PEL -1 in the context of the exercise. This is just a reformulation of one of those up here, of one of those two expressions that we have up here, rules given. And this basically concludes the overview of the Realschulabschluss Prüfung 2020 in mathematics, and I hope you did enjoy this video. Don't forget to check out Flammy too, by the way, for all solutions to the exam in both German and English, and also a German overview. But before we actually end the video, I would like to thank today's sponsor brUhV for sponsoring yet another video of the hard exam series here on this channel. Today's exam was one of a different kind, covering essential knowledge from the first 10 years of school. As easy as it might seem to us as math enthusiasts, students consider these questions to be really challenging. We'll start out small ones, so never forget your fundamentals. If you are interested in brushing up on important topics or clever math and competitive problems, I encourage you to try out brUhV today. Besides their awesome selection of various problems in mathematics, geometry, physics and many more, brUhV provides their subscribers with a dedicated maths fundamentals course. It covers the most basic and important math topics to really get you prepared for your next exam or upcoming studies. So if this feels like it's something for you, make sure to check out the link at the top of the description. With it, you are going to get free access to a big portion of brUhV, and the first 200 people to actually use the link get 20% of an annual premium subscription. So try it out and support the channel this way. And considering how much content they already have on their website, it's really a great deal. So try out brUhV and yeah, support the channel this way, big time. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe, recommend channel. If like everyone support channel a bit more, buy those t-shirts I create, or support channel on Patreon. Up until the next video, I'm wishing you guys an MSA day. Ciao.